Hey folks, I'm Eric Lowry. I'm part of the HEC Center and also the new IBM Presto Labs presentation team. I'm here today to talk to you for a couple minutes about the AI ladder and how I talk to customers about modernizing their infrastructure. So for a second, let's just go ahead and look at how IBM talks about the AI ladder to customers formally. So if we just click around a bit, you'll see that there are quite a few, you'll see that there are quite a few different approaches to talking to our customers about AI ladder, about the AI ladder. Well, my customers are primarily financial institutions, large institutional banks, and mortgage companies and that like. So when I talk about it, first thing is, I don't ever show them a deck. That's not how I talk to my customers. I tend to interact with my customers either on a whiteboard or on the back of a napkin, often at a restaurant or something like that. And I'm going to show you how I talk to customers about it. So let's jump over to the whiteboard camera for just a minute. And I'm just going to kind of run through how I talk to a bank or a mortgage company. So the first thing is, I tend to just draw the squares out on a napkin ahead of time. So I cheat a little bit. There's no, if I know I'm going to have this conversation, I just automatically draw the boxes, and I tend to label them: collect, analyze, predict, and infuse. How you want to talk to your customer, use their language and use their problems as example. But almost always, we start with collecting data. And so if I just draw a little database here, this is where people start. They get data into a database. And in the beginning, this database, it might just be one operational system, but it's row-based. But eventually, this database gets big and querying it gets slow. So they might deploy another type of database, one that is columnar in nature. So that's good for reporting and things like that. Well, once you start adding databases, the types of databases that you add are just limitless in today's. So you might be capturing call transcriptions and the recordings of your help desk talking to people. You might capture imagery. So this is supposed to be a landscape. I'm not a very good artist. That's pictures from ATMs and things like that. You might capture sensor data. Sorry. So that was supposed to be a temperature gauge. I'm going to redraw that. So I'll draw it like this, like a gauge. So sensor data coming through maybe an IoT network. And this type of data goes on and on and on. And then meanwhile, more databases keep getting added from other operational systems. Maybe even, this is supposed to be a mainframe, maybe even some legacy data. Kind of looks like an owl, square owl. But eventually, this thing just grows and grows and grows, and you get what they call a data lake or a data swamp. But this thing just keeps growing and growing, and new data sources keep getting added. So one of the things you should also be doing is organizing your data. And if you're putting, customer details and things like that, you need to secure your data, and you need to be able to trust your data. So these are all kind of what I put in this initial collection bucket of, these are the things that you need to do to get data, because data powers the rest of your business transformation. So once you're here and you're collecting data, sort of the next step in your evolution is to analyze that data. And that can be as simple as, let's say you have an enterprise reporting system, and you probably have, this could be Cognos, it can really be any, but you need to be able to get to that data. And there's probably lots of different views, and it should be using this underlying structure. But in order to produce those kind of reports, you need some way to organize them. So you need some kind of master record. You need a catalog underlying this. And so I'm just going to say catalog, but underneath it there's a Watson catalog. There's a Watson knowledge catalog going on. But but being able to find the data in this sea of data that you're now collecting is pretty important. once you get to this point where you're reporting on it and you keep adding data, it gets too big. It gets too big to look at in terms of pictures and rows and data and drilling in and out of that data. And what you end up doing is basically using AI and models and statistics to help you make sense of this data layer. So, I'm just going to call this statistics, but that could be SPSS, that could be, which is a product that IBM sells. That could be Watson machine learning, which is sort of a web way of getting to that data and doing large scale analytics and on your data. But the point here is that where you want to get to is you want to start predicting. So we have this much data, that's the same data that we're getting out of here, and we want to predict, sorry, right in the microphone. So we want to predict that future behavior. So that prediction is the output of a model. And if you have more than one data analyst, you probably have multiple models. You probably have some competing models. So you need to know, like, what is this model's accuracy? Like, with 98% confidence, we think that sales is going to be here. But meanwhile, at 96% accuracy, you've got a model down here that's predicting, and you might have another one kind of in the middle, and 96, 95. And one of the things you might learn about data scientists is that they use different approaches to building their models. They might use different algorithms. So one of the things that is kind of important in order for you to take advantage of these predictions is have some way of choosing the best models. That's sort of key. But once you have these predictions in place, the real money, and that's like, by the way, everything you've seen up to this is sort of a cost center. It costs you money to do these things, and it saves you money to do it. But pretty much none of these is actually generating revenue. If you want to get to the point where you actually make money, you need to take these predictions and take these next best actions and things that can happen, and you need to operationalize them. You need to infuse them into your day-to-day workflows. So for example, maybe at the ATM, you're going to make a person an offer on a mortgage based on everything you know here and the time of the day that he's there and how influenceable he is. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, you might infuse that interaction at the ATM with the output of these predictions to say, how likely is that person to actually buy a mortgage today? We call this a next best action. Is this a thing that we should ask the customer right now if he's willing to do it? Or maybe we should offer them a bond or offer them something to take this simple transaction of them getting money out and turn it into a money maker for us. Other examples are, maybe he goes inside and he talks to a teller. So I'm going to draw a little teller right here. And the teller wears a ball cap, very similar to mine. This teller can probably use the exact same next best actions if he knows about them. So infusing allows our teller to act on the output of this model and to actually influence the bottom line. So one takeaway that I want you to have from this thing that I've driven right here that I've drawn on the whiteboard for you right here, is that everything that is in blue is something that IBM provides to you today. So I'm just going to write IBM right there. Everything on this table that's blue, IBM provides. We don't pay you to use our software, so that's in green. And you're going to have to create some models and create some things in there, to actually take advantage and build. You're going to have data scientists and you have to build a little bit of this, but everything that's in blue is actually a product or service that IBM provides for you today. With that, I'd like to thank you for your time. Hey, if you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe below. And then you can see every video that comes out of me on FlipFlop, IBM's new sales TikTok. Have a good day.